Up InDesign, you'll notice that you have the home screen appearing first. It gives you the option to choose from predefined layouts, 8.5, 11, iPad Pro, and so forth. If you wanted to choose from your templates, choose more presets, what happens is that dialog box comes up for a new document, and down the bottom here it says to find some templates. If you click Go, it loads Adobe stock into your web browser. My suggestion, unless you have subscribed to Adobe stock, all of these are available. If not, you're going to have to pay for some of these templates. But if you search for free templates, all of these are going to be free for use in InDesign, whether you have a subscription to Adobe stock or not, which is different from a subscription to the Adobe site for the Creative Cloud applications. For this demonstration, I'm just going to use the 8.5, 11 default document. Now notice that the units that I have in here are set to inches. Unless you want to change this every single time, by default it's going to be set to picas. You can either change it here or go to the preferences and the units and increments. When you change this, it's permanently saved. So every time you open up a new document, it's going to be set to whatever you're setting here. So I have it set to inches for the vertical and horizontal. The stroke I left set to points, simply because I'm more comfortable with that measurement. The other thing that you may notice is my tools over here on the left-hand side are in 2 columns. That can be changed by selecting Interface, going down to where it says Panels, Floating Tools. I have a double column selected. That's how to set those 2 options. And again, you can see that there are many options to set depending on what you want your workflow to look like. Click OK. Your changes, whatever you made, is going to be set. So here we have an 8.5, 11 document. I have the rulers showing on the top and on the left. And that becomes important when you want to drag and set guide marks. You just click inside the ruler and you can go down, and if you want to divide the page in half, half of an 11-inch page is 5.5. So I have a guide mark indicating where the half of that page is. You can do the same thing on the left-hand side. So if you want to do half of the 8.5, 11, that'd be 4.25. So that gives me an idea of where the center mark is on this page. The tool palette is very similar to the other Adobe applications. Specifically, Adobe Illustrator, we have 2 arrows, one direct selection, one selection tool. This is the selection tool right here. If you wanted to start creating a document, we have shapes and we have text, and we can also place images. So notice that the text selection tool that I have here is set to type on a path. There are 2 options. If you just click on that little black triangle, you can have the text tool, and you can just type along here. You can highlight the text, change the size of the text. If you wanted to type, and now notice it has this is a type box. This is similar, a little different than the other application in Adobe. So we actually have each element for a box for each element that we have on our layout. If we wanted to type on a path, I can choose either the pencil, the pen, or any of the shapes. Just drag a shape, change the type tool to type on a path. And when you do that and you hover over the shape, notice that there's a little plus sign that appears that indicates that is all set. If you click, that's where the path is going to start. So you can start typing. You can highlight this, make it bigger. Now notice that the circle is going to show because the line color is set to black. If we change the line color to none, that's an invisible path. You're still going to see a guide in the layout, but when you print it, that will not show up. Just the type is going to be on that circular path. Take your selection tool and you can reposition it wherever you want on that type, on that path. If you want it to go on the inside, notice that when you select that, there's a center mark down here. If you hover over that, you're going to notice that the icon changes a little bit with that arrow. If you drag up, it goes on the inside of the path, and you can move it accordingly. If you want to place an image, I want to scale that image automatically. So if you go to File, Place, after selecting the image, drag the box. Notice that the box is going to automatically size to whatever the ratio of that image is, and that's going to be perfectly resized inside that shape. So this is your rectangle frame tool that the image is going to be placed inside of. So you can position that wherever you want. This is where the guide marks become handy, because I know when you click on the image, that's the center point of the image. I know that that image is perfectly aligned, centered on the page. If I don't like the size, I made a little bit of a mistake, I want to resize that. If you resize this, let's do it to that perspective right there. Notice the image itself does not resize, just the frame does. I would have to right click on the inside here and go to Fitting. Now I have a few options. If I were to fit that content to the frame, that image is going to be out of perspective. If I go to Fitting again, fit the frame to the content, it'll resize the frame to whatever the ratio is. Or I can fit the content proportionately. Notice that now the perspective of that image is maintained, but the frame is now too big, so we know that that frame can be resized a little bit. Now, when you're working on the layout, the size of the frame doesn't really matter too much, other than visually getting in the way as a designer. Moving that around might be a little bit of hindrance, but these are my suggestions, just to resize that frame, just so that you know exactly where the image itself is. These are the basics of setting up a page with type and images, and I'm going to review more functions in the next tutorial.